So do we need to become altruistic to solve global warming or the crisis of global commons like the atmosphere and the ocean, or even the local communities where we live, or something like enlightened self-interest can be enough? So economist Albert Hirschman says enlightened self-interest can be a substitute for ethics. Well, that's a good economist, right? You can always find a way to make money without being branded just self-interested or selfish, even though Ayn Rand would argue that selfishness is a virtue. Altruism has been argued as something that exists in nature, but then evolutionary biologists would argue that altruism is not evolutionarily stable, because if you're altruistic, you'll be exploited by everybody else and then you will go extinct and so on. Okay? But delaying gratification for perceived self-interest, restrained present gratification, in this case unimpeded energy consumption and carbon production, for a great benefit in the future. What is that? Examples are health and well-being. Is it so obvious? Well, argument is that it can be. Enlightened self-interest serves as a proxy for ethical motivation and demonstrates how individual and collective ends can converge. Okay, so there is the collective end of humanity, or your local community, or your city, town, village, whatever, and you have the individual self-interest of making as much money, driving to see the world, enjoying your meat, steaks, and so on. So how do they converge? It's not always clear. You have to again think of the example of how human beings, let's say individuals, can save for the future college fund for their children, even before the children are born sometimes. But can they save or pay a cost for their health and well-being, the health and well-being of their children, by paying for a cleaner environment for them? Nonetheless, we will not debate it and accept it as one of the social transformations which can be used by social innovations to change attitude and behavior. That's what we are after here. So here is an image from the book that talks about protests that occurred in New York City while COP21 took place in Paris. Message here has been shifted from a conventional ethical mode, protect others, protect the environment, and so on, to a prudent mode where you say protect what you love. One should protect one's own interest, the things that one loves. So already you can see that there is some attempt to put it in terms of enlightened self-interest. If it works, great, right? Many people do pay for protecting a forest, protecting a water body, protecting the air, and so on. Okay. Then the idea is that the doctors themselves have to think their work as part of the solution, part of this culture of collaboration. So then medical schools themselves will need to become increasingly more collaborative, interdisciplinary, community engaged, and better insulated from corporate agendas. They need to commit themselves to integrating environmental health, education, and policy agendas more explicitly into their mission. Okay, so not that doctors don't have enough to do already, but can they be explicitly aware that everything they are looking at now is somehow affected or by climate change, or is happening in a warmer world with more air pollution, more water pollution, more people contacts, more travel, and so on and so forth. Obviously it's possible. So the question is always, how do you get there? So some definitions. Alan Bloom, a philosopher, US philosopher, said self-interest is hostile to common good, but enlightened self-interest is not. Okay, so there is a subtle change. You say, I'm self-interest is my goal, but I'm enlightened. Already makes it sound better, right? And this is the best key to the meaning of enlightenment. I mean, this is going quite far, right? So the whole idea of enlightenment has been the holy grail of some religions and some philosophies, Buddhism, Hinduism, everybody wants enlightenment. But this, Alan Bloom says, enlightened self-interest is the best key to the meaning of enlightenment itself. Well, maybe, because there is the idea of why people do charity. Is that because they want something in the afterlife? Is that because it makes them feel better now? Or is that because they're trying to gain some kind of a tributary power, where by being philanthropic you get some power, right? So let's say Bill Gates and Melinda Gates, they are doing a lot of good things. Why do they do it? Is there some enlightened self-interest involved there, or is it because they have so much money that they might as well do this? So it's also about how much money you have, but when people who don't have much money contribute to something, what is the motivation? We don't have to always diagnose it, but maybe there is some implicit enlightened self-interest involved. And in our region of the world, India, one of the prime ministers who's very fondly remembered by everybody said, "We hope the world will act in the spirit of enlightened self-interest." So the concept is also into politics, where he's invoking world action and saying, don't do something for the developing countries, don't do something for India, do it out of the spirit of enlightened self-interest. So this is now at country to country level. A country can innovate, can market its products, can control the markets, or impact the markets, etc. But it can still do a lot of good if it comes with the spirit of enlightened self-interest. Okay, so it's a good concept, and if it works to save the world from climate change, not only for our own good. Let's say all of humanity wants to have enlightened self-interest that protects all the other species. So many species are going extinct and suffering already. Can our own enlightened self-interest also help to protect the other species? This is kind of the key. Again, going local and getting personal.